Anyway, you're on tour at the moment, I believe.
We are.
You're doing the is it kind of a stripped back levelers show, or is it a sort of an acoustic specifically thing, or what's happening with that?
It's very different. What it is, it's a combination of artists. It's us and the Millettes
Okay.
doing some old Leveler songs, some new Leveler songs, and some familiar Leveler songs
Right.
in a situation that's like pretty pretty cool, pretty exciting actually.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds interesting. And what footage I've seen looks really interesting. Of course, you've got this album that's out today. The what's it called? Together All the Way. I was listening to Battle of the Beanfield earlier. It sounds absolutely marvelous. I think it sounds quite. It sounds starker, but I think it is quite more powerful than the version that was on the Leveling the Land album.
Well, the point is to bring the lyrics forward,
Yeah.
and the music makes an atmosphere
Hmm.
around it, and having such fantastically talented musicians around what we're doing and recorded it live in our own studio, looking each other in the whites of the eyes. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, go. What are we going to do with this?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. And like, and yeah, it's taken a lot of like kicking around and stuff to make some cool things happen. But I was like, let's just do that with a cello and a violin and a voice,
Yeah.
like Barry Beatles. And
Sure.
like the words tell a story, and so
They do.
that's this heart of folk music to tell a story,
Yeah.
and then have that going behind. It's like, yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you find it artistically quite rewarding to sort of reimagine your previous material? Does it reinvigorate it for you?
But yeah, yeah, in a word, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It's like, yeah, it's really challenging because you have to stay on top of your game.
Yeah.
You know, there are songs by muscle memory. After 35 years, that's how it's gonna feel. There's gonna be
Yeah.
muscle memory. So when you've got like something you have to sing to a cello and a violin with no drummer,
Hmm.
it's like, okay, do not mess that up.
Yeah. 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 I mean, is this album a collection of sort of stripped back or reinterpreted levelers songs, or do you borrow from a kind of other more traditional arrangements there? You know, a bit like your own version of sort of Springsteen Seeger sessions, perhaps.
Yeah, a bit like that, but like not so much because essentially, uh, like folk songs are really long, have a lot of lyrics, and tell a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't. Some songs, I was like, me and myself and Short Lake, we sat down and went like, "Oh yeah, this would be a really good one," and then we realised it only had 13 words in the whole song.
Right.
So that isn't going to work.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds like folk music, but it's actually not because the Levellers have always stood outside of that arc, you know. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's okay. How are we going to do this? So some songs come to the fore, some just disappeared. It's like, forget it. You can't do that.
Right. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I want to take you back a bit, actually. I'm just interested to know, do you think Hello Pig is a misunderstood album?
Yeah, it's my favourite album.
Oh, okay. You know, it's an interesting one. And also the track Happy Birthday Revolution. Is it true that was put on at the last minute to give it kind of more a commercial push, do you think?
It was the only thing that sounded commercial on the album.
Right.
It's the only thing that had a chorus. The rest of it, we were messing with the genre, you know, we're enjoying music.
Yeah.
And Happy Birthday Revolution had a chorus, and everything else we had was a bit too out there.
It's quite an experimental album, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's a good run. I think for us, we enjoyed making it, and we were given the rights to do it, so we did it. But
Yeah.
it got us off Warner Brothers, who bought our label because we were on an independent label,
Yeah.
and then Warner Brothers bought our independent label,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we got them, and we didn't want them because we didn't want to be part of that world of like a corporate business. We didn't want to be owned by Bugs Bunny, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when the A&R guy came down to listen to what we were doing, he went, "This is bad." we were like, "No, we were like, no, this is good."
Yeah. So was Hello Pig the reason that you parted ways with Warner's? They weren't happy with you, or you just not happy with them?
Well, exactly. As I said, like we purposely went out of our way to make a record that was like impossible to market. So
Yeah.
the most marketable song was "Happy Birthday Revolution," written by Rev,
Hmm.
a friend of ours. It wasn't even written by the band. It was like we just had to have something on it. They said, like, we need something that goes that has a regular. And we're doing the snare drum. That's how corporate they were.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
With something with the red, it's like, oh, right, okay. So yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. They don't strike me as they'd be the perfect fit for the Levelers anyway, to be honest with you. Um, I'm interested in Phil Tennant's production on the of the Water Boys. Was this kind of a deciding factor for you when he was gotten in to do the first album as a producer?
Right back then with Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Phil. He'd just been working. He had just done working with the Water Boys, and had also been working with oh god, I can't remember, on holiday with them, the Irish guys. Do you remember them? The
Oh,
Massive.
okay. Yeah.
Right, it doesn't matter. Anyway, and but Phil's a charmer,
Right.
a charmer.
Okay.
You know, in the world of like rock and roll, there are people that are charmers. He knew what he was talking about. Don't get me wrong, but he
Yeah.
was a charmer, and he charmed the pants off of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he got us into the studio, and he knew what to do, and he really worked us hard because up to a point, right, we were good, but we weren't good enough. He knew how to make us better,
Right.
right? So he made Charlie and Jeremy rehearse in another room
Hmm.
to a click track or just
Yeah.
just a metronome.
Okay.
And all sorts of things that as because we're not one of the most musically proficient people. We are now, but we weren't then.
Sure.
So it was quite hard work for
Yeah.
everybody, and we had to do it in 2 weeks. So we had a time schedule, so we were up 24 hours to record the whole thing. And Phil, bless him, he did kick us into shape, and he made when it was finished. Apart from a lack of bottom end, he produced a great record.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I've got to ask you. I couldn't resist it. What was it like recording with Joe Strummer? Do you have any anecdotes or memories of that time or of Joe?
Yeah, Joe was great. He was really great. Like literally, because we had a friend of a friend, and I'd met him a couple of times, and etc. etc. And it was like, okay, Joe, we want you to come down and play on our record. Thinking he could play the piano. We didn't want him to play the guitar. We
Yeah.
thought he could play some piano, but we got
Okay.
that horribly wrong. He showed up, and he was like going. He said to our producer at the time, "Why am I here?" And Al Scott, who was producing us at that time, said, "They're massive fans. Just go along with it."
Okay.
And that's what he did. To be honest, not much of him really appears on the record. It was just like a chance to actually hang out with him, and he was just nice and a proper person. You know, that's all we ever cared about.
Because that must have been about 2002, wasn't it? Or about
Yeah, it was
then?
about that. It was
Because
about that.
that couldn't have been too long before we lost him. Because I think we lost him around, was it 2003 or four, something like that?
Yeah, it was. It was shortly before. It really was, and
Yeah.
it came as a horrible shock. To be fair.
Sure, it sure did. It was a shock. Um, what was wrong with the original recording of Green Blade Rising?
What's wrong with the original recording of it? I think, right, nothing, right, to be honest. But it came out of a time of turmoil.
Okay.
Yeah, internal turmoil, really. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Why would you ask that question? I'm interested.
Well, I'm curious to know whether or not the original recording of that album actually exists. I'm wondering, if it'd be interesting to hear them the sort of two side by side because you totally re-recorded it, didn't you?
Did we? I don't think we did. I don't think we did. Well, we might have started and had to start again.
Okay.
Right? But that's we always do that anyway because everything's work in progress until it's work. Yeah.
Right.
So you could say that about every single Levelers album,
Right.
like after 2000, really, because it's like some of them are demos and they become songs. So it's like, okay, and then we might record it, and then, you know what, we could do a better version of that, or that we need to rewrite that, or we need another song. But not really re-recording as such. We never play the same song and go like, yeah, we need to vamp that up, whatever. No, it's one of the most least controversial albums to record that we've done.
Okay,
I'd say, but they're all hard work.
Yeah, I bet. I was staying on that same theme. Are there any sort of level of songs that you listen back to now and think, oh, I wish we could redo that. We could do it so much better.
Well, somewhat ironically, yeah, some of the stuff we're doing now is great. The thing is, music. If you've got a good top line, you've got a good lyric, like you've got a song. If you can play it on the piano and sing it, if you can sit on the end of a bed with an acoustic guitar and sing it, it's the song. So you can do anything with them.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're songs.
Sure. Burn America Burn, is that a kind of a scathing attack on American politics? Did you anticipate the election of Donald Trump all those years ago? What was the inspiration for that one?
It was Jeremy. He wrote the lyrics to that one, and it was just about school shootings. It's like the American Constitution of like, yeah, you're allowed to carry a gun, and that's part of their system. It's like, what a ridiculous idea that is. As simple as that. And controversial. We went and toured America after that. Burn America Burn. Like, they got shows like, so what have you got to say about this? I was like, not a lot really. It says burn America Burn. So yeah, it does say that. So we don't go back there very often.
Right. You didn't get yourself into hot water with that one then, with the American public.
No, I think they actually got the actual message, which was like, what a ridiculous idea that, like, you can have school, you got like barriers at schools to stop you going in armed at schools, and because people are going in and shooting each other. And that's what the song's about. It's about people literally going gun crazy and killing people.
Sure. How close did Nick Cave come to actually recording vocals on Letters from the Underground? So I love Nick Cave. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are fantastic. I'm just interested to know, did you manage to get anything out of him?
Well, no. He used to record at our studio a lot, but we asked him, and he's a busy man.
Yeah.
We asked him, he's a busy man, which is fine. He's totally cool, really nice guy. But yeah, it's like, dude, if I could fit it in, I would, but I can't.
Interesting. I saw an earlier interview with you, and you said that The Wall was the first album you bought.
Yeah.
How much of an influence are Pink Floyd on you and the Levellers, if at all?
If at all, not the Levellers. Me, probably.
Yeah.
Me as an individual. And more Dave Gilmour's just like, strummy songwriting, individual songs that Pink Floyd turn into epics.
Yeah.
Comfortably Numb, things like that. It's like, that's a bedroom guitar song if you actually boiled it down to what it actually is. And Pink Floyd, obviously, with their genius, turned it into massive loveliness. But that's it, really. It's just literally, and like The Wall was like, he wrote the best songs on it. It's a bit controversial, isn't it, these days? But Roger Waters is a bit of a confusing personality for me.
They're kind of they're both of them are at loggerheads at the moment, aren't they?
Well, they really are, and that's a damn shame because they shouldn't be.
Well, yeah, they're one of the. I mean, Pink Floyd have admitted they're one of the laziest bands out there. They wasted so much studio time just playing darts and doing things like that. But I don't think they were. I don't even if they were on the best of terms. I don't think we get anything out of them now.
Not collectively, anyway.
Absolutely. Interesting. Track Generation Fear. Do you feel that everyone's much more afraid than they used to be?
Yeah. Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just interesting to our approach of raising children. How much freer I felt as a child compared to what we allow our own children to do. I just wanted
exactly that, and it's trying to reflect every aspect of like modern life in as few words as possible to describe literally how it's not great right now.
No. What do you put that down to? Do you put that down to mainstream media or you know? Or,
well, there are many factors. I mean,
yeah.
you know, it's good. It's not going to come as a great shock to people that we're not Tories.
That's a revelation. That's a shock.
Yeah, I know. So like, but you know, so essentially, we've always been common sense thinkers, and they go, "Oh, Tories will say we're common sense." It's not common sense. Common sense is actually getting along with everybody, making things work.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They're divisive, and we're not divisive. We're communicative and community orientated, and that's what that song's about, particularly that one.
Okay. I have one last question for you. It's a bit of a stinker. I thought I'd forewarn you of that. Which album do you think is culturally more important, Sgt Pepper or Never Mind the Bollocks?
That's a really interesting question. Do you know what? It's time. That's based on time. Both of them were at their time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And now, neither mean a lot. I say it, but that's the nature of time. And the actual fact that music has lost its fucking cachet. I'd say it. It really matters less to people than it used to. When both those records were written, they were culturally important. People fucking changed their lives and altered their existence to be around those records. Nowadays, not so much. In fact, not at all.
Yeah, it's funny that. I mean, I've got my daughter's about 13, nearly 14. When I was that age, I was listening to music 24 hours a day almost, just listening to music. She's just on all this strange shit that's on computers these days, you know, all this.
No, exactly. Look, I don't want to sound like an old man or a curmudgeon, right? But music affected culture, etc., right? It did. Right? Whatever you listen to affected your gang, your who you were hanging out with, right? And some people you would hang out with, you hated the other people because they like different music, right? That's not the way anymore. It's completely changed, and it's probably, for us, it's a loss. For them, they don't know they've lost it. They never had it, and maybe they're identifying with other things that feel equally as important. But my daughter and my son go back and listen to both those records and go, "Oh my gosh, music was so much better then."
Absolutely.
And I'm like, yeah, it kind of was. It's like they can't get excited by the release of a new Adele album. That's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Or let's Ed Sheeran. It's not going to work for them. And underground music is undersourced, and so it's not going to happen because they can't earn the money to work it. They can't pay for it anymore because there's no record companies handing out huge amounts of money to bands like there was. They hand it out to pop stars, but they won't hand it out to like indie stars, new metal bands, all of these stuff that we like. They're not getting financed.
Well, there's no investment in artists like there used to be. Gene Simmons famously said rock is dead because there's no investment in new artists anymore. Do you think he's got a point?
He totally has a point. It's completely and utterly correct. It's like, but the focus, the global focus has moved away. Music is no longer the cultural significance since digital took over. And digital is a challenge for everybody in every business, in every industry, no matter what. And it's not going to go away. It's going to get harder and harder.
Anyway, so thank you so much for doing this interview. I know you're probably quite busy at the moment. You're on tour, aren't you? So you've probably got other shit getting on with.
Yeah, I've got another interview in 20 seconds.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and
thank you for your time. Good questions, by the way.
Good. I will.
I always like being asked interesting questions, and you came up with some beauties there, especially the last one.
Excellent, thank you. Anyway, all the best, mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Right, cheers.